All right, so now we're gonna do the 6-phase Element X primer for the lower body, okay? So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of soft tissue work, some targeted soft tissue work to try to kind of tone down the nervous system a little bit and get it prepped for some more movement. So I'm gonna run through what I call the 3-way hip foam roll. We're gonna hit the quads, then we're gonna hit kind of the upper outer hip TFL, and then we're also gonna kind of hit kind of the glutes and into the lower or upper hamstring a little bit, that kind of a thing. So first thing, so we're gonna jump right on the foam roll. I'm gonna get kind of this section right here on the foam roller. I'm gonna keep the other side kind of free so I can move around a little bit. I like to put my leg like this so I can put, I can kind of control the pressure I'm putting into the foam roller. Because once you hit a hot spot, you want to kind of pause and hang out on that hot spot and just kind of do little oscillations there. So I got a spot right there that's pretty dang tight. And I'm gonna sit there and just kind of oscillate through it, maybe about 15 to 20 oscillations. And then I'm gonna add a little like movement with it. So I'm gonna actually flex and extend my knee a little bit. You don't necessarily have to do this, but it helps kind of get a little bit more of kind of like a pin and stretch technique done. So you're getting a little bit more muscle release, just kind of softening that tissue up. Okay, and then I'm gonna roll from here kind of to my upper outer hip. So you'll see it's kind of right here. This is where the TFL hangs out. The TFL likes to get super overactive and mess with your hip mechanics in a not so good way. Well, let's not call it not so good, but it's compensatory. It likes to compensate for things that should be working and usually aren't as well. So same thing, I'm just gonna find a little hot spot. Right there's one. I'm just gonna kind of oscillate. With this one, I'm gonna maybe just move my leg a little bit. Same thing, just kind of up and down, maybe in and out a little bit here, like this. If you're a man, be careful not to get too close to the front region there, because you can pinch stuff. Okay, all right, I'll edit that out, okay. All right, now we're gonna come over here, and I'm gonna get on the outer hip, kind of upper outer hip here, and then the glutes. So upper outer hip was here, now we're gonna head back into the glute here, and I'm actually gonna take my foot, I'm gonna put it right here like this. I'm gonna kind of dig into here, so now we're getting all these deep hip rotators loosened up. So it's just gonna free up a lot of the hip tension and tightness. Most people get stiff hips because they either sit too much or just don't necessarily go through their full range of motion. And stiff hips can really wreck your lumbopelvic hip mechanics and call on your lower back to do a whole lot more than it wants to do. And when that happens, bad things happen. So I'm gonna kind of saw away a little bit, kind of both directions here. Good. Now you can imagine, I'm only gonna do one on this other side just for the sake of time, but you would just pop that foam roller right over here and do both sides. So now I'm gonna run through that quad. And sometimes you gotta kind of hit the outer quad a little bit too. And I've got a nasty spot right here. And again, I'm just gonna kind of oscillate through it. It's little tiny oscillations. And then I'm actually gonna pin that spot and I'm gonna move through it a little bit. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is called the couch stretch. And then we're gonna add a thoracic rotation to it as well, okay? So it's gonna help open up the hip flexor and the thoracic spine. So I'm gonna actually do it right here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put one foot back up against that wall. Other one's gonna come up here like this. You're gonna sit up. As soon as you sit up here, you're gonna feel a big stretch in your quad right away. I'm pretty tight here, so as soon as I get here, I'm already like, whoa, that's a big stretch. But I'm gonna lean forward a little bit to get a little bit more up into this hip flexor. And I'm just gonna kind of sit here and same thing, I'm gonna oscillate back and forth a little bit here. So I'm just trying to open up this whole front of the hip flexor, get some good hip extension here. Good. About a minute, maybe 45 seconds to a minute. And then I'm gonna come down here like this. I'm just gonna open my arm through, so I'm gonna take it here, and I'm gonna open it up here. And I'm just gonna go back and forth. And I'm gonna do about 10 reps here. Just adding some thoracic rotation, and then it actually stretches that hip flexor even more. So, good. Let's try the other side real quick, just so you can see. So that foot up, this foot forward. Some people might get here and only have to hang out here. You might not be able to get up like this, that's fine. If you have to, just hang out here, okay? If you can't put this foot up, just bring it down a little ways here, okay? But if you can get it to here, or even if you don't want to roll up on the way on the wall, you can just use a ball or something. So I'll do this. There, so now I'm up. And if I couldn't get up, I could just hang out here, same thing. But you're gonna be here, big stretch in the quad, hip flexor, just oscillating. I like to oscillate. I don't really like to hold static stretches for super long. I like to be moving. I like to be kind of like moving in and out. I don't like to bounce. They tell you not to bounce a stretch, But little oscillations where you're kind of figuring out where you're tight and kind of leaning into it and moving through it, that's okay. Okay, now we're gonna add the rotation. So with this, I always like to say, keep your eye on your hand. You're not doing this. So you're actually turning your torso. Okay, so eyes on my hand. I'm just trying to open all the way up. Don't whip it like that, but it's okay to use maybe a little bit of momentum. You're just trying to create some motion. Good. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna do the glute activation trio. You're gonna need a little band like this or some sort of other band. You could use one of those big loop bands and tie it around, but these work really good, super cheap, super easy. So we're gonna come over to a bench. First thing we're gonna do is just called a kind of a horizontal hip abduction pump. So I'm gonna put it around just above the knee there. I'm actually over here. I'm just gonna lay straight back here like this. And I'm just gonna literally put my hands here and I'm just gonna pump straight out. I'm gonna do about 25 reps. Okay, it's really easy, but this is just kind of waking up your kind of upper outer glutes, waking up those hip abductors, and we're not having to use our low back at all. We're taking all that out of the equation when we lay here like this. Okay, so let's pretend I did 25. Now you're gonna superset that with a hip thrust with the same kind of banded tension. So we're gonna get on the bench like this. Arms are here. You're just gonna dip your butt down. You're gonna push your hips up and through. You're gonna squeeze your butt and push out on the band at the same time. That's 1 rep. Again, you're gonna do about 20, 25 reps. Shouldn't be super difficult because there's minimal resistance here, but sometimes just body weight hip thrusts are pretty difficult. So if not, just scale it back, do 15 reps. Not that big of a deal. We're just trying to get these muscles activated so they are kind of working instead of some of the other muscles that like to compensate. Okay, you're gonna keep the tension out the whole time. Squeeze the butt, down, up, squeeze the butt. Okay, now let's pretend I did 20, 25 reps. Now we're gonna go into a banded box squat. So I'm gonna stand about, I don't know, about a foot, foot and a half away from this bench. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a nice good stance here. I'm gonna try to kind of screw my feet into the ground here. So you're seeing I'm getting a little bit of external rotation happening at my hip right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my hands out here to counterbalance me. I'm gonna squeeze my core nice and tight. I'm gonna sit my butt back and try to touch that. And then I'm gonna come right back up and squeeze the butt at the top. Okay, so we're gonna sit back. Tension's on that band the whole time. And we're gonna come straight back up. Now I could just touch and go like this. That's fine. If I sit just a little bit and come back, that's okay. It's really not a huge difference if I do that as opposed to if I just do this. Either way, I'm trying to keep tension here and I'm trying to squeeze my butt at the top, kind of push my hips through. We're just trying to really get those glutes burning a little bit so that they know they're gonna be doing the work instead of a lot of these other compensatory structures. Okay, so again, 20, 25 reps of that. We're gonna do 3 sets of that all the way through. You should be sweating a little bit after that, okay? So, all right, so next one here, we're gonna do a kettlebell goblet squat. We're gonna try to get depth and try to really open up our hips and just sit into like a deep squat here. And then we're also gonna add some ankle mobility here. So what you're gonna do is just pop this kettlebell up. You're gonna hold it about like that. When you go into a squat, you're gonna come down, straight down. You're gonna push those knees out and you can just hang out here for a second or two if you want to. Or you can just come right back up, but we're just trying to get some depth. We're trying to open up the hips. We're trying to get more kind of mobility there. Good, I don't want you swaying all over the place or kind of doing this kind of thing or falling forward. Just get used to this position here a little bit. The kettlebell will counterbalance you, so you're not having a whole lot of balance issues here. So here, or you could just bang them out. I want you to do 5 reps. Trying to get kind of deep. Good. And then after the 5th rep, I want you to sit down into it. And I'm gonna have you try to rock forward and backwards. So I got tension on my elbows and on my knees here, and I'm pushing my knee over my toe. I'm trying to loosen up that ankle. You can go back and forth. You could do 5 little oscillations to one side, and then 5 to the other side, like that, or you could just go back and forth. This is just trying to loosen up the ankles. The ankles are really important for squat mechanics and for a number of different movements with your lower body. All right, so now we're gonna get our central nervous system kind of revved up. A lot of people don't necessarily do this, and sometimes they aren't prepared to kind of do more explosive kind of lifting or anaerobic, like, you know, weightlifting type stuff. So, so by doing this, we're gonna kind of get our nervous system ready to actually kind of move some things around and do some heavy stuff. So you can either do a kettlebell swing, or sometimes if you don't have the equipment, just do a jump squat. Okay, so I'll do the jump squat first. So you're basically just gonna come down, hands are gonna kind of come behind you. You're just gonna jump straight up like you're kind of doing like the top of a burpee. So you're gonna come down, you're gonna go up. Good, so let's pretend I did 10 or so, heart's beating. Or you could do some kettlebell swings. Sometimes when I'm gonna do squats, I like to do the jump squats. If I'm gonna do more hingy type stuff, I like to do the kettlebell swing. So, kettlebell swing, you're gonna start here, you're swinging behind you, pop the hips through, and just swing. Good. And that should really get you firing, that should get you rolling. And not only that, but this is going to be kind of more of like a rehabilitative type of thing. It's going to be more corrective in nature. So most people need a lot of the same stuff, but obviously we're going to have something designed catered directly to you and what your specific needs are based on your posture and some of your movement patterns. But if you just did this one, you're going to get quite a bit of kind of a corrective, rehabilitative benefit to it. So give it a shot.